how to soothe your infant. I am going to teach you some swaddling techniques, and we're going to talk about pacifiers and ways to get your baby comfortable, because for 9 months they're in a very compact space, and what you're trying to do is recreate that warm, comfortable feeling, because they're born into a very loud world where they can be overstimulated. So one of the things that we can do is kind of recreate that small space, like the womb. And babies are born for the first 3 months having no control over their arms. So guess what? They will hit themselves in the face, and they have a reflex for them to turn, and then they will try to eat anything that touches their mouth, because those are involuntary reflexes. So the best thing to do is, when a baby is done being fed, you've changed them, they're happy, is to kind of restrict the arms, and you do that by swaddling. So I'm just using a regular, this is actually a beach cover-up. I don't even require any sort of fancy swaddle blanket, but the theory is the same, is to create this type of position for your baby. So I have basically just taken a piece of fabric and created a corner. That way I can put the baby's head right here, right above the shoulders. One corner is going to go down and restrict that arm. The second corner is going to go down and restrict that arm, and you simply wrap any extra fabric around. So the goal is to, with a swaddle, to restrict the baby's arms so they can't hit themselves in the face, like a baby burrito. So they're going to be experts in the hospital, and there's some swaddle blankets that you can buy that have zipper, makes it a lot easier. But the reason the swaddling works is because of the involuntary arm movement. Babies have a 60-minute sleep cycle. You have a 90-minute sleep cycle, so that's why you're so tired. They're waking you up at random times all through the night when you're in deep sleep. So the goal is to swaddle the baby. In their 60-minute sleep cycle, they're going to sleep for 30 minutes in REM sleep, then do 30 minutes of deep sleep, then go back into REM sleep. In REM sleep, they will move their arms, hit themselves in the face, and wake themselves up. So that's why it's such a great idea to do a swaddle blanket and restrict the baby's arms so they're more in a cocoon and won't hit themselves in the face. So that's swaddling. Another soothing technique, which is really the absolute best, is sucking. So there is some controversy over pacifiers, but it is clinically proven that for the first 12 weeks, babies have an involuntary suck reflex. They don't use the side of their brain that can learn, manipulate. We now know that there's no such thing as bottle preference. They are going to suck on anything that touches the roof of their mouth. When they suck, it lowers their heart rate, their blood pressure, it stops them from crying. So if the baby's been on the breast, you are tired of breastfeeding, you can absolutely use a pacifier, same way as the breast, touch the baby's lips, and just aim the pacifier to the roof of the baby's mouth, and the baby can suck on the pacifier. Again, to go back to the sleep cycle. So imagine back in the day when we had a whole support system, the mom would breastfeed, hand the baby over to grandma. Grandma would hold the baby for 30 minutes, do this, and guess what? She put the baby down and it was magic. She took care of everything. Now the reality is we're all by ourselves. it's 2 o'clock in the morning. All we want to do is finish feeding so we can go to sleep. But that first 30 minutes, the baby's in REM sleep. So if I put a baby down while they're in REM sleep, they're gonna wake right back up, and I'm gonna have to start the process all over again. So, best tip, feed the baby on the breast. They get a release of oxytocin. It's a painkiller, the equivalent of a morphine. It will put them to sleep, but they're gonna be in a very light state of sleep. They wanna be on your chest. So we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait, and we're gonna be able to tell if they're in deep sleep by their arm. If their arm is like a wet noodle, they're in deep sleep. If you see any sort of eye movement, any movement in their face, they're in REM sleep. So, best advice, breastfeed once the baby falls asleep on the breast, swaddle them, placing their arms in a restricted position so that they can't hit themselves in the face, and then offer them the pacifier. Now, we like everything exciting. We want everything to happen now. Babies are the complete opposite. They want boring. They want repetition. Repetition to soothe. They want the same thing over and over. So now we've restricted his arms. We've given him a pacifier to satisfy his suck reflex. And now we're going to try to get him into deep sleep. So repetition to soothe means the same thing over and over. It's whatever you decide it to be. It can be rocking, it can be tapping, it can be bouncing, whatever works for you. It's just the same movement over and over. What that does is it replicates the sound of our heartbeat when they were in the womb, and it relaxes them, brings them back to that Moro state. So, repetition to soothe. You're gonna see your baby fall asleep, and then you're gonna wait. You're gonna wait until you no longer see eye movement, and then to go from REM sleep to deep sleep. Once they're in deep sleep, then you can put them down and an airplane could fly over their head and they will stay asleep. They will go from REM sleep to deep sleep, back into REM sleep, and that is the trick to soothing your baby and getting them to go to sleep and stay asleep. Don't rush it. Wait. Really look at your baby and see if you see any facial movements. And that's the trick to survival with a newborn.